Welcome, happy Clean Slate Day, and thank you for joining Safe and Just Michigan, the Clean Slate Initiative, Legal Services, Detroit Project Clean Slate, the Office of the Chief Justice, Lieutenant Governor, Chairman Filler, and the Attorney General. Today's webinar is designed to introduce the resources available to folks in order to explore getting an expungement. We'll answer some questions at the end of the presentation. We will not be answering questions about specific cases, but we will be providing links in the chat throughout the program to where you can get some of those questions answered. Everyone at Safe and Just Michigan is thrilled you are participating. We have muted your microphones to ensure that everyone can hear the panel, but please ask any questions you have using the chat function. At the end of the event, select participants will answer questions for as long as time allows. You can also engage with Safe and Just Michigan on our social media channels or visit our website. In just a few seconds, you will see a poll on your screen. We hope you will fill it out so that we can get an accurate but anonymous picture of who attended the event today. Thank you in advance for participating in our poll. It is now my pleasure to turn things over to the Managing Director of the Clean Slate Initiative and our MC for today's event, Sheena Mead.
Thank you, Josh. Hello and good afternoon. My name is Sheena Mead and I'm the Managing Director of the Clean Slate Initiative. I will be your MC for this event, celebrating the enactment of the first part of the package, the expansion of expungement through the petition process, which went live on yesterday. Everyone at the Clean Slate Initiative is so proud to have worked with Safe and Just Michigan and a large coalition of groups, including the Alliance for Safety and Justice, Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice, the Detroit Justice Center, Nation Outside, Just Leadership USA, the Madignal Center, the ACU Foundation, American Michigan Faith in Action, and many business leaders and groups like the Grand Rapids Chamber, the Detroit Regional Chamber, the West Michigan Policy Forum, the Small Business Association of Michigan, the Saginaw Chamber, and the Lansing Chamber throughout this campaign, which resulted in Governor Gretchen Whitmer signing the Clean Slate package into law in October of 2020. This package was historic, and one of the foremost reasons it was remarkable was the bipartisanship with which it became law. In a time of incredible political polarization across our country, Michigan legislators came across the aisle and passed this package of legislation by very large margin in both the Senate and the House. I am pleased to be joined by one of the champions, by Representative Graham Filler, the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, who is joining us now to say a few words about the legislative process that produced these historic reforms. Welcome.
All right, well, thank you so much for having me. And there's really two things I want to bring up. First of all, I want to talk about who's on here. I see the Chief Judge, I see Garland. I'm so glad we mentioned the people, the business groups who got on this. This was a bipartisan process, and there's a reason. It's because we asked a hard question, which is, why should individuals retain, especially a non-assaultive criminal record for the entirety of their lives? And we asked that question, really basic question, to the legislators from the state of Michigan, and no one could give sort of a reason against this. And so we made it common sense, and we made it make sense legally, and it became law. And so we did this thing, okay, and it had support from both sides. And I want to temper it a little bit by saying it's not a magic bullet. You can't go on, individuals can't go on committing very serious crimes and then expunging them. Haha, I get 5 years, right? It's more like there's power behind it. And I firmly believe that. And I will tell you, after we did our first press conference in Detroit, our phone lines at the filler office in Lansing were remarkably positive. People would call and say, I can't access this, but I'm excited for my relative who has marijuana conviction to access this. I mean, do you realize how rare it is to get positive phone calls from constituents when you serve in the legislature? It's really rare. And so there's remarkable power behind this. If you are thinking, if anybody is watching this and thinking, hey, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know if I want to walk through a courtroom door again. I will tell you, there is a surprising amount of times in your life where that little box pops up and it says, have you been convicted, or have you been a felony or a misdemeanor, and where that might impact your entire life. And if you're able to use expungement to improve your prospects of getting a job, starting a small business, getting insurance, educational opportunities, I deeply, deeply encourage you to do that. So thank you to Safe and Just. Thank you to the leaders in the legal community in Michigan for stepping up and speaking strongly for this. And I just really encourage you to take advantage of this. You now live in a state that's leading the nation in expungement reforms and in giving people's opportunities. And that's a really big thing to be a part of. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Chairman Filler, for joining us today. Our second speaker is Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist II. A part of the Whitmer administration, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist has sought to address injustice and inequity across the state of Michigan at every level, from co-chairing the Michigan Joint Task Force on Jail and Pretrial Incarceration to helming the Coronavirus Task Force on Racial Disparities. These task forces have taken actions that save lives and protect our most vulnerable populations. The Lieutenant Governor was also a strong supporter of the Michigan Clean Slate package. And the administration and the Lieutenant Governor will be working close together with Safe and Just, with the courts to implement the Clean Slate package. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist.
Excuse me, Shannon, thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon to everybody. This is a really important and exciting day in Michigan. I believe this is a historic day in Michigan because this is the day when the reality comes to bear that Michigan is a leader in the country when it comes to having an expansive and accessible and available system for clearing people's criminal records for certain types of offenses, but more importantly, for clearing a pathway to access opportunity for people from all walks of life all across the state of Michigan. This was a tremendous team effort, and I want to thank a number of people who are on this call, but this has really been a movement effort. I want to thank Attorney General Dana Nessel, the Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court, Bridget McCormack. I want to thank Chairman Graham Filler and the other legislative leaders who worked to marshal this package through the Michigan legislature. And I also want to thank Noah Smith and John Cooper for their effort, their leadership, and the resources they helped to provide to make this possible. From day one, as the Lieutenant Governor of this great state, working alongside Gretchen Whitmer, I have been focused on reforming our criminal legal system to deliver justice actually within that system. Our administration knew that we needed to take a new approach to criminal justice, to reduce people's contact with that system in the first place, to treat people with dignity and humanity while they were in contact with that system, and ultimately to prepare people for a chance at success after their contact was finished. My goal has been to build foundational reforms to make our communities safer and improve people's outcomes through this criminal legal system. In October of 2020, Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed a bipartisan package of 7 bills that we collectively referred to as Clean Slate that fundamentally does change our criminal history expungement laws. These laws will facilitate the automatic expungement of certain felonies and misdemeanors from criminal records. This will remove barriers to housing, employment, other economic opportunities for eligible people who have a criminal record. Under these new laws, automatic expungement will be applied to up to 4 misdemeanors after 7 years of no criminal violations, and up to 2 nonviolent felony convictions after 10 years with no criminal offenses on a lifetime basis. Clean slate, and especially the automated part that I'm so excited about as a technology guy at heart, this is an example of government working for people and how our administration and our partners are focusing on delivering real change, actions that everyday people in Michigan can feel. Implementing the automated portion of this clean slate package will require a significant investment in the necessary technologies across state and local governments. As an engineer, I understand that innovation requires time and investment. Governor Whitmer and I are ready to make these investments when it comes to clean slate. To support those efforts, our administration has recommended in the fiscal year 2021 supplemental request to the legislature that the Attorney General's that we include $19 million, to support the coordinated development of an automated criminal record expungement system in the Attorney General, Department of Corrections, State Police, and Judiciary budgets. To support these systems in the future, our fiscal year 2022 executive budget recommendation includes $2.2 million for ongoing program support and maintenance, $560,000 to the Department of the Attorney General, $605 to the Judiciary, and $1.1 million to the Department of State Police. A coordinated development effort led by state police will help ensure that all systems housing criminal records across the justice system include the enhancements and ongoing support necessary to provide automatic criminal record expungement. And once complete, these systems are anticipated to provide a clean slate to more than 500,000 people in Michigan and help Michigan become a national leader in criminal justice reform. That's 500,000 more people who will have access to jobs, access to housing, access to educational opportunities, full access to participation in civic life, full access to a deep experience of their humanity. I'm excited to announce that in mid-April, our administration, in conjunction with the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, will be rolling out this Clean Slate program. From October to now, this incredible progress that will be life-changing for Michiganders has been on the cusp of this reality. We're going to have more details on how individuals can get involved and register very soon, and all of the partners on this call are going to be talking a lot about that. I'm so looking forward to taking this next step so Michigan can remain a national leader when it comes to our criminal justice system. Thank you so much for having me here today. This is an exciting day for the people of the state of Michigan, and thank you all for your role in creating opportunity in our state.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist. Our next speaker is Attorney General Dana Nessel. Dana Nessel was sworn in as Michigan's 54th Attorney General on January 1st, 2019. And since being sworn in, she created a conviction integrity unit to investigate claims of innocence, continued the department's criminal investigation into the Flint water crisis, taking a lead role in fighting against companies that try to take advantage of Michigan consumers, and has long been an advocate for expungement, especially marijuana convictions. Welcome, Attorney General Dana Nessel.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Safe and Just Michigan for organizing this event and for gathering everybody together to share information about Michigan's new expungement laws. I am so happy to be part of this virtual event with Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist and Representative Filler and Chief Justice McCormick and Project Clean Slate to talk a little bit about the law and how the Department of Attorney General can be a resource for those individuals seeking expungement for their records. Now, my office is hard at work in helping to streamline the process for individuals who have, for instance, certain marijuana-related misdemeanors. And attending events like this one to spread the word is part of that commitment. And as you all know, yesterday marked the start of a new beginning for many Michigan residents as part of our new expungement laws officially took effect. I know that Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist had some figures for you. According to the Detroit Free Press, some of those estimates that I saw indicate that, several 100,000, perhaps even 1 million Michigan residents could be eligible to expunge criminal convictions from their public records at this point. Let me repeat that. Several 100,000 to 1 million Michigan residents will no longer have to deal with the stigma and barriers posed by having a criminal conviction on their public record. Now, we know that very few residents were able to take advantage of their eligibility under the old law, but it's our sincere hope that events like this one will help encourage the expanded number of eligible residents to complete an application. And I know the thought of applying for an expungement can seem very daunting, but people should not be deterred. The new law offers many more opportunities, and there are many resources, including my office, eager to help individuals navigate this process. Let me take a moment to highlight some of the opportunities under the new law. In November of 2018, Michigan citizens voted to legalize recreational marijuana use. The new expungement law recognizes that residents with past marijuana convictions should no longer have to carry the burden of a criminal record for something that our state has now legalized years ago. The ability to expunge these convictions means an individual's past mistakes no longer have to impact future plans, and the process for such expungements is much easier than it is for other convictions. Expungement for eligible marijuana convictions is, in some instances, pretty close to an automatic process, other than filing for the application. And an applicant can file an unlimited number of such applications. So if you go to our webpage, www.mich.gov/AG-expunge is a checklist specific to the process for expunging marijuana convictions. And I would encourage anyone who thinks they might be eligible to expunge a marijuana-related conviction to review that checklist. Also, under the new law that took effect yesterday, April 11th, a person convicted up to 3 felonies, except life offenses and other serious felonies, and an unlimited number of certain misdemeanors can, with some exceptions, file an application with the convicting court to expunge all of his or her convictions. This is a significant improvement from the old process to set aside a conviction. Our website also includes a checklist for the process to seek expungements for other offenses. The checklist provides an overview of eligibility guidelines and a list of materials necessary to complete an application. The next phase of the new law involves the implementation of an automatic expungement process, but that part will likely not go into effect until late 2022 or maybe even into 2023. And implementation of this aspect of the law was delayed for a minimum of 2 years to allow all the stakeholders, including the Michigan State Police, to obtain the necessary technology and processes necessary to make automatic expungements a reality. Now, while this might seem like too long for those who have already been waiting years to clear their records, it is a vast improvement over the old law and system. And eligible residents may still file an application for expungement under the new automatic process as it takes effect. The automatic expungement law will allow for 2 felony convictions and 4 misdemeanors to be expunged after a 10-year waiting period for felonies or a 7-year waiting period for misdemeanors over the course of an applicant's lifetime. My office, the Attorney General's office, has launched a website at www.mich.gov/AG-expunge, where individuals can learn more about the law, review eligibility guidelines, and obtain application checklists. And we are eager to help support individuals in gaining access to resources and materials necessary to apply for expungement. Applicants do not need to hire an attorney to assist them with the paperwork and the expungement hearing. And there are organizations in Michigan that help applicants with expungements, sometimes even providing an attorney for free. For example, Project Clean Slate in Detroit, Michigan Works, and various legal aid clinics around the state. And my office is also working to plan a series of expungement fairs all over the state once it's safe for people to gather in person again. And I'm so excited and look forward to doing that. So I know in conclusion that I echo the sentiments of all my colleagues here when I say this new expungement law was so necessary as a change to our state laws, and Michigan residents deserve to see their criminal records cleared in the wake of voters approving the use of recreational marijuana. And this new law also brings about overdue changes for residents who would otherwise have to carry around the burden of a public criminal record well past the point of already having paid their debt to society. So if you think you're eligible, or you know somebody who might be, or just have general questions about eligibility, I encourage you, please visit our website, again, mi.gov/AG-expunge for more information. And with that, I'll throw it back. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited about the new law and everything that my department can do to help aid people who are in need of expunging their records. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney General Nessel. And we are so excited about being able to come back together in person to also do those fairs. Next up to speak is Chief Justice Bridget. Next up is Chief Justice Bridget Mary McCormick. Chief Justice McCormick joined the Michigan Supreme Court in January 2013 and became a Chief Justice in 2019. before her election to the court in November 2012. She was a law professor and a dean at the University of Michigan Law. As the Chief Justice, McCormick has promoted statewide initiatives devoted to improving court services to the public, in particular on improving equal access to justice, including expungements. Welcome, Chief Justice McCormick.
Thank you very much. Thank you for including me in today's really happy celebration. It is a great day in Michigan. Expungements have direct positive benefits for the people who are eligible for them and for their families. They get better jobs, they get better housing, they get better educational opportunities. All of this is not controversial. And by helping individuals, clean slates can help strengthen communities, local economies, and frankly, our whole state. And it promotes public safety. None of this is up for debate anymore, and it is very exciting what we're going to be able to accomplish in Michigan. The court system is largely a downstream system. By the time people end up in court, a lot else has gone wrong. But this particular legislation, this Michigan legislation, is pretty darn upstream. Dan Heath has this new book, it's not that new anymore, but called Upstream, about solving complex problems. And he starts the book with this parable that you may have heard that inspired him to write it. And here's how he tells it. He says, you and a friend are having a picnic on the bank of a river, and you've just laid down your picnic blankets. You're about to have your meal when you hear a shout from the direction of the river. You look back, there's a child thrashing around in the water, apparently drowning. So you both dive in, you fish the child out, you bring him to shore, and just as you're starting to calm down, you hear another shout. You look back, there's a second child splashing around again, apparently drowning, and so back in you go. You fish them out, and then there are two more children who come along right behind, and so begins this revolving door of rescue where you're in and you're out, fishing kids out, and it's exhausting work. And right about that time, you notice your friend is swimming to the shore. He steps out, starts to walk away as though to leave you alone, and you cry out, hey, where are you going? I need your help. All these kids are drowning. And your friend says, I'm going upstream to figure out who's throwing all these kids in the river. Automatic expungement is very upstream, but so is the collaboration that we've seen through this process that got us all here today. Every branch of government was at the table trying to figure out how we could make sure as many people as possible in Michigan who could take advantage of this process. And the community partners who helped us, including those that are here today, deserve so much credit. And we are full of gratitude for the work they would not give up on to get us here. Let's keep it going with implementation. Let's work together on innovative ways to remove barriers to expungement. Let's make sure everybody who is eligible can succeed. The courts are your partners. Every person who is eligible for expungement has done everything we have asked of her. And we look forward to telling you that with a court order. You can use the resources that you're going to learn about today, but the Michigan Supreme Court also has resources. courts.mi.gov/clean slate. We have there lots of links to all the resources that hopefully will be helpful for people who are eligible. Thanks again for including me. This is a very, very happy day in Michigan.
Thanks, Chief Justice McCormick. Next up, to discuss some of the details of the new packages are John Cooper, the Executive Director of Safe and Just Michigan, and Shannon Lucas, the Manager of Legal Services Delivery at the Michigan Advocacy Program.
Thanks so much, Sheena. So I just want to preface this by saying how glad we are to have everyone here today. The governor signed this package of bills almost 6 months ago, and every day since that happened last October, we've been getting feedback from the public saying, we need more information, we need access to resources, we need legal assistance. And we saw lots of organizations and state actors working on putting resources together, but we didn't see them compiled in a single place. So what inspired the event today was seeing all these disparate activities happening and the desire to bring them all together and present them to the public in a consolidated fashion. So in that spirit, I'm happy to introduce Shannon Lucas, who's the Director of Legal Services Delivery at the Michigan Advocacy Program. which includes legal aid, Michigan legal help, and other legal services that I'm sure you all will be interested in learning about. So I'm going to hand it off to Shannon now.
All right, I think I unmuted myself, so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about legal services statewide, and then what services that we can provide for people looking for help to get an expungement. Michigan is very fortunate. We have quality legal services in all of our counties in the state. We have been working behind the scenes to prepare for this exciting day to get services ready for people to come to our offices. We have long been working to help individuals, low-income individuals, to access expungements through partnerships with many agencies, including Michigan Works, local sheriff's departments, prosecutor's office, and local friend of the courts. And our attorneys for years have really seen how a criminal record amplifies many of the issues our clients face, including access to housing, higher costs for car insurance, accessing credit, the ability to pay child support, just to name a few outside of the employment issues that people are commonly know about. So we as a legal services community are really excited to see this opportunity expand to more Michiganders. And we're encouraging people to reach out to their local legal services offices. We offer free attorneys to people in civil legal matters as long as you qualify financially for our services. And we are prepared to help clients access and collect their criminal records, get access to fingerprinting, and we hope to match them with either a pro bono attorney or a staff attorney to help them get through this process. With our partners at Michigan Works, we have funds available to help people pay for their criminal records and other costs associated with expungements. And we just want to make sure that nobody feels like there's a barrier to accessing these new expungement laws or that they can't afford it. And so we're really excited to put the information out there about our services and just our availability. Expungements can still be and will still be a complicated process, and it involves a court hearing most of the time. And we have really worked hard to put services and pro bono attorneys and staff attorneys in place to help with those hearings and just the process itself. And so the best way to access our services is to go to michiganlegalhelp.org. That website will direct you to your local legal services office through an online intake portal. They have toolkits that will explain the process of expungement, and they are updated and live today. So we're really excited to get that information out there. You can also access our services through the Counsel and Advocacy Law Line, which is a hotline if people would rather use the telephone. Their number is 888-783-8190. You can also contact your Michigan Works office in your community. They are prepared to help you with this process and have partnered with most of our legal services offices across the state. So another point of entry if you are seeking or in need of a legal services attorney or a pro bono attorney. And then if you are familiar with your local legal services office, I work for the Michigan Advocacy Program. We house legal services of South Central Michigan in 13 counties in Southeast Michigan. But if you're familiar with your local legal services office, you can call them directly as well. I would never discourage that. If there are private attorneys on this website who would like to assist with this process or volunteer to do some pro bono work, please reach out to me. You can reach me at Lucas S, it's LUCASS at lsscm.org to sign up for pro bono. We do have a training coming up on Friday. So we will be publicizing that on the MAP Facebook page too. So, but please, I think Attorney General Nessel said, these are complicated processes. People don't want to go back into court. I hope that with this program today, and thanks, John, for inviting us to be here, that there are advocates in the community ready to help you do this. So thank you.
Hey, thanks so much, Shannon. And I just have a few things to add from the Safe and Just Michigan perspective. So we know that expungement can be an intimidating process, and we know that not everybody who may benefit from the new laws could join us today. Safe and Just Michigan is committed over the next year to doing outreach in every community in Michigan that would like to have an expungement fair. It's going to take us some time to do that. But if you all would like to help plan and co-host an expungement event in your community, we are going to start planning those today. And the contact information to get in the queue to sign up, I'm going to post in the chat. It's info@safeandjustmichigan.org or area code 517-482-7753. And so we're looking at doing webinars until July probably, and then possibly in July we can start in-person work. That's going to depend a little bit on the COVID guidelines, but we have a bunch of great grassroots partners that we're looking forward to reaching out into communities in Michigan with and connecting with you all. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And also we did put together an FAQ document. I believe it's been posted in the chat, but that's got the information for contacting legal aid and some of these other great resources that we've talked about here. And I would like with that to hand it back to Sheena. Thanks very much, everyone. Appreciate you joining.
John, I don't know if you've seen the comments in the chat, but it looks like you have a lot of people ready to volunteer, people who are fired up. So this is really exciting, especially during Second Chance Month. I want to thank John and Shannon. Next to speak will be Stephani LaBelle, who is the lead attorney for Project Clean Slate, a program created by Mayor Mike Duggan in 2016 that assists Detroiters who want to work and be a part of Detroit's comeback by providing free expungement services to residents. Welcome, Stephani. And Stephani, I think you're on mute. It's okay. We're all having some technical difficulties.
Only over a year of this. Thank you, Sheena. Mayor Duggan started Project Clean Slate in 2016 to help talented Detroiters who are facing so many barriers due to their criminal convictions, particularly regarding employment. So Project Clean Slate is free to Detroit residents. We have attorneys on staff. We pay for and order certified court records. We file and serve the applications. We review the Michigan State Police and Attorney General response. We prepare the client for the hearing, and we also attend the hearing with the clients. Once the hearing is completed, we also ensure that the conviction has been sealed by the Michigan State Police by pulling another iChat for them. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the impact that expungement has on residents. We send out a survey to our clients after their conviction has been expunged. And unlike most people who get a survey, they're very excited about filling it out and they respond right away. And the responses that we receive are so overwhelming. One of our clients told us about a promotion she earned. She had been working at Taco Bell making minimum wage, and she applied for a position after her expungement to work as a general manager at a Wingstop. And she got the job, and she is earning a $50,000 a year salary. Another client went from making just under the table, went from earning under the table payments, doing various odd jobs, to securing an employment with the United States Postal Service, making a salary and also benefits. And in addition to improvements in their employment, the thing that we hear the most from our clients is the relief that they feel at having the stigma of the conviction removed from their spirit. A lot of times these convictions have been following people around for 20, 30, even 40 years. And so it's such a huge burden off of them. And, I think that a lot of you might be familiar with all the other ways expungement can help, but a story that has stuck with us and has stuck with Mayor Duggan is one of our clients came in. We usually during non-COVID times have a presence in the Detroit at Work centers. And so a gentleman came in with his 9-year-old daughter and pushed some papers across the table. And he said, I need an expungement. I want to take my daughter on her field trip and I can't go. So it's stories like that. It makes us realize the impact that expungement has on people. And so we're very excited about this new legislation, almost as excited as all of the residents. In a typical year, we have about 1,000 people apply for Project Clean Slate. since January, we've had over 4,970 people apply. So we have a small but mighty team, but we are getting through everybody. It's taking us a little longer than we hoped, but we know that more expungements will mean more opportunities for our residents. So we're very excited about the new legislation. If anybody on this is a resident of the city of Detroit, you can sign up for our program on our website, which is www.detroitmi.gov/Project Clean Slate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I am one of those parents who myself skipped out on going to field trips because I didn't have that type of relief or expungement in my state. So again, so excited about the work that is being done. Thanks again, Stephanie. And thanks to all of our speakers today. Now I would like to bring back John Cooper. John, is there anything else that you would like to add before we move into questions and answers? Seems like we have a lot of questions in the chat, so that's exciting.
Not from my end. I think I just want to reiterate, based on some of the questions I've seen in the chat, that the automatic expungement doesn't go into effect probably for 18 months to 2 years, and that depends largely on how quickly it can be implemented at the local court level, because the short version is that different local courts have different case management systems, and about 30% of courts are not on the system that's managed by the state court administrator's office. So those systems are going to take a bit longer to update, and we don't right now know exactly how long it's going to take. So the laws that are going into effect or that went into effect yesterday pertain to eligibility for the petition process. So right now we're going to focus on getting people the resources they need to apply through the petition process. And we're going to come back and probably do another event like this next year to talk more about the automatic expungement. So just wanted to make that clear to everybody. And then, yeah, I'm ready for questions. Let's see what folks have.
Okay, great. And if this question kind of already, if you already answered some of it, because it seemed like you started to go into it, just let me know, we can move on because there's a lot of questions. So the first question that came from the chat, I heard 2023 and then December 2022 for implementation of this new legislation. Can people get forms to submit to the program before it starts, before the program starts, or should they just apply to the existing program?
So that's a good question. So with the automatic expungement, there's no application that needs to occur. That's going to happen automatically. So if you would like to apply, you should apply today under the new rules that went into effect yesterday. If you want to wait for the automatic system, there's going to be a slightly different process related to that. And there will be public resources that people will be able to use to check whether their record has been cleared. Those resources have not been created yet. So for right now, I'd encourage everyone who wants an expungement in the next 2 years to apply through the petition process using the resources that we've highlighted today.
Okay, also there's a poll that is up on the screen if folks want to go ahead and answer that poll as we go to the next question. The next question, John, is if you're denied expungement of your record by the Attorney General or a judge, is there an appeal process?
That's actually a great question. And I wanted to ask just our folks producing the event if we can go to a gallery view for the panelists so that everybody is on screen here and has the opportunity to answer. Because I know we've got Stephanie and Shannon are still on, and there are some of these questions they may be better positioned to answer than me. So.
Sure, and I could go ahead and repeat the question so the full panel could hear. If you're denied expungement of your record by the Attorney General or a judge, is there an appeal process? Anyone want to take that question?
Shannon or Stephanie, feel free to jump in.
So you could file an appeal, but the judge's decision is discretionary. So if they feel that you have not met the burden, it's within their right to deny the application. The Attorney General's office does not object unless you are ineligible under the law. So for example, if you had 10 felonies, they would object. But as long as you're eligible under the law, meaning the conviction you're seeking to have expunged is eligible for expungement and you fall within the parameters, they will not usually object. So that, and you can appeal the judge's decision, but it would have to be perhaps that the judge interpreted the law incorrectly or something like that.
Thanks, Stephanie. That's helpful. And it reminded me of a point that I was hoping to make to folks. So as Stephanie mentions, this is a decision that is discretionary with judges. And we've seen some questions in the chat about whether, people should pay off their fines and fees first, or, if there are issues related to other conduct. Ultimately, those are decisions that rest with the individual judge, and different judges handle things different ways. I'd advise anyone that's able to pay off criminal justice debt ahead of applying to do so. But there are judges that would grant applications even with outstanding criminal justice debt. And just Stephanie or Shannon, feel free to jump in and add anything you'd like to.
I would love to. So the judges sometimes are lenient about that, but it's been our experience that the prosecutors always object if there is any money owing. And so the judge will usually deny it. So to enter into our program before we can accept you as being eligible, all fees and fines and costs have to be paid off. Otherwise, we end up going through the entire process and then they deny it. And I do think for automatic, that restitution has to be paid.
Just to sorry, Shannon, you were going to add something? No?
Yeah, I would agree with what Stephanie added there. I would also say too, most judges, if you come before them and you have an application that's eligible for expungement and you've paid off your fines and fees, really enjoy these cases. And it's been my experience, it's a good environment for everybody. These are good cases to do. So I just would add that.
So I saw a couple questions. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Sheena. I saw a couple questions in the chat about, so there is a rule that folks should be aware of, that if a petition is denied, there's a 3-year waiting period before a person can reapply. Because that exists, and that isn't something that was taken out of the statute and the reforms, unfortunately, we would encourage everybody to make sure they're very careful about the legal requirements, very careful about their eligibility. If there is the possibility of paying down outstanding criminal justice debt, we would recommend it. And, in addition, there are, there's the possibility a judge could deny a person who's got a deserving record. And that's a consequence of having a system where the judge gets to decide. One nice thing about the automatic expungement is that will no longer be the case for things that are eligible through automatic. There won't be any fees required. And that eligibility for that statute will not depend on whether a person has their fines and fees paid off. There is some complexity related to restitution there, but some of that's going to get worked out during implementation. Sorry, go ahead, Sheena.
No, there's a wealth of information that's coming out to people, and it's so exciting to see people who's going to get the relief on this call today. And I know I've seen a few people ask for this information to be repeated. This will also be streaming to Safe and Just Facebook page, and you're able to go back and look at the recording. So I just want to let folks know that. The next question that has come up is, what is the application process? That's an important one.
I'll defer to Stephanie and Shannon on that one. Feel free to jump in.
I think just to start for us, the application process includes getting a copy of your criminal record, obtaining fingerprints, and then both Michigan Legal Help and the State Court Administrator's Office has forms available for people to fill out to start this process. We encourage everyone to maybe talk with an attorney before they file, even if it's just to have your paperwork reviewed and make sure that all of the documents are gathered and everything is in place before you file. I don't know, Stephanie, we could talk for about an hour on all the steps in obtaining an expungement, but that is a really brief overview. I'd encourage you to check out the resources on michiganlegalhelp.org.
Stephanie, anything you want to add to that before we move to the next question?
No, I don't think so. I think Shannon covered the generalities of it.
Okay, great. So the next question, how will those eligible be notified? And also, can the expungement process begin prior to automation?
So I can jump in on that. So with the petition process, there's no notification if you're eligible. That's something a person needs to figure out on their own. The general parameters are if you have up to 3 felonies, you're eligible. The exceptions are anything punishable by life in prison, and most criminal sexual conduct convictions are not eligible. There's a few other categories that aren't, but in general, up to 3 felonies are going to be permissible. And there, you should not be concerned with the number of misdemeanors under the statute. We do think there are some judges that are going to be denying petitions where there are a lot of misdemeanors. So that's a bit of a dice roll. And hopefully people with a lot of lower level misdemeanors will be helped out by the automatic expungement when it becomes effective at the end of 22 or early 23. Stephanie or Shannon, feel free to jump in with anything. Okay, go ahead, Gina.
Yeah, I realized my screen may be a little froze, so maybe looking awkward on the screen, but we can keep moving forward. And so also another question, is this opportunity still available if you no longer reside in the state of Michigan?
Yes. The only constraints are you need to file the petition in the court where that issued the conviction. So if you were convicted in, 3rd Circuit in Detroit, it needs to be filed there. If there's a hearing, you need to show up for the hearing there. But it doesn't matter if you're living out of state or even out of country, so long as you can get the documents to the right place and make sure you show up to the hearings.
Another question is, where can attorney volunteers for upcoming expungement fairs and events? So if you're looking for volunteers who are attorneys, how can they sign up? How can they sign up for the expungement fairs or events?
We'll toss that one to Shannon.
I would encourage any attorney who wants to help out to reach out to their local legal services. You can find that information on michiganlegalhelp.org. Most of I would say all of our offices, not most, have a screen on their websites to sign up for pro bono opportunities. We are also hosting a training on Friday involving expungement laws and changes. And so if I will get that posted on the Michigan Advocacy's programs website so people can register for the training from there, and also on our Facebook page.
And we also, on our website, we have a link to a volunteer attorney sign up. We run a pro bono program where attorneys can sign up. They can see the dates that we have available in the court locations, and if some of those work for your schedule. So that can be found on our website, detroitmi.gov/project Slate.
If I could just jump in very quickly, I've seen a number of questions related to drunk driving convictions, and that's actually an important and timely issue. So there were bills passed last year to make first offense drunk driving eligible for expungement. Those were not signed by the governor. However, there is a new set of bills proposing a similar policy that has passed the House, and those bills will be up in the Senate Judiciary Committee on Thursday. So let me just look up the numbers a second. I think it's 44, 19, and 20. But if you'd like to call your senators and encourage them to support those bills so that we can open up expungement access to people who have old drunk driving convictions, that would be great. We estimate there's as many as 200,000 people in Michigan that have a single drunk driving conviction on their record. Many of those people can't get their driver's licenses back, can't take care of their families, go on field trips with their kids, etc. So we think that is an important addition to these laws, and we'd encourage everyone involved to support them.
I want to move into some of the Facebook Live comments. So one of the questions, what if you have already applied for felony expungement years ago and still not have received a denial or anything? What do you do?
So if my understanding is that you can only get your records sealed once through the petition process. So if you applied previously and that petition was granted, then I think that is the extent of what that process has to offer. But if that petition was not ruled on, or if it was denied more than 3 years ago, you certainly could reapply.
Okay.
And yes, I'm getting some questions related to DUIs. So until yesterday, no traffic offenses of any kind were eligible for expungement in Michigan. And that's a really important thing because half of all criminal cases in Michigan are for traffic offenses. So the bills that passed last year did not make any DUI convictions eligible. And that's why there's these additional bills that are moving to make first offense DUI eligible. The other traffic offenses that are not eligible under the bills that went into effect yesterday, they're generally moving violations that cause injury or death. So if you're out of that kind of traffic offense, just into registration or insurance or suspended license issues, you should be good to go.
Okay,
I
we have another
also saw a
question.
comment in the chat just regarding legal aid. So just so everyone's clear, an expungement is not a criminal case. It's a civil case. That's why legal aid handles it, not the public defenders. So they will be able to handle expungement cases that you bring to them.
We have a question around gun rights being restored. After that full expungement, will your gun rights be restored?
So I am not an expert on this question. Shannon, do you have any experience with the gun rights issue?
I am not, I do not know the answer to that. I'm sorry.
So my understanding is that with an expungement, there's a better chance of getting gun rights back. But so basically the expungement applies to the state criminal records. Law enforcement maintains a non-public criminal record, and also the FBI does. And I believe it's those databases that are being checked for firearm rights. So it is possible that even with an expungement, there could be a denial, but it certainly could help. And that's as far as I can say on that.
We have another volunteer question. How can caring constituents collaborate with the applicants or agencies to donate notary services to offset the expense as a part of the application process?
I think that's a great question. I think in the future, when we're able to get together and host expungement fairs, we are always looking for locations that can hold people and anybody who can help us with the paperwork and things like that. And so I would encourage you, if you have services to offer, maybe reach out to the local legal aid in your community and see if they have any specific needs. Stephanie, I don't know if you have any other ideas for resources like that.
Sure. So we are actually having our clients in to sign applications in front of a notary at one of the DPD locations. They're also doing our fingerprinting for us. So if there are any notaries who would like to volunteer, we usually do those on scheduled Wednesdays, and we do have an in-house notary, but given the size of our team, we could use her elsewhere if we had notary volunteers. So you could email us at projectcleanslate@detroitmi.gov.
I have a question also about the waiting period. So does the waiting period go from the date of offense or the date of definition?
It goes from the end of a person's sentence or probation or parole, whichever is last. So if you're looking to expunge a misdemeanor, you'll be eligible 3 years from your last day of probation. If it's a felony, it'll be 5 years. If you're looking to get multiple felonies sealed, it'll be 7. And one issue I've seen a couple times in the chat that I just wanted to, I don't know if Stephanie is the right person to answer this. It's about travel rights to Canada. I've gotten this question from a few people, and I think because that's a federal database, maybe those records aren't getting sealed. But do you have any insight on that, Stephanie?
I would agree with you. I don't know the answer to that for certain, but because law enforcement can access it, I still think they would be able to see it. I just don't know how they treat that in Canada. So if it's expunged, do they still not let you in?
I can look into that. I'm actually kind of curious. So I'm going to try and get the answer to that. But if they are checking a federal database or a law enforcement database, they can still see that conviction. So it is possible that's still going to prevent a person from traveling to Canada.
I have another question, John, from Facebook. If someone has more than 4 felonies, can they still apply to have the first 3 expunged?
The answer is yes. And also, if 2 of those felonies arise out of the same act, so if you're arrested, for example, for drug possession and you get charged with possession and conspiracy, those are counted as 1. So you theoretically could get more than 3 expunged, depending on how those convictions arise out of the underlying chain of events.
Also, we have, how can we, the people, help have our voices heard on your platform?
So I would encourage everyone to contact their legislators, particularly folks who have not been helped by the reforms to date. You know, if you have a conviction, for example, 2 DUIs, we've seen several people in the chat saying they've got more than 1. We know there's a lot of people in Michigan that are in the same boat. Please keep pressing your elected officials to expand eligibility for expungement, because we know how impactful it is for people's lives, and we got to keep working on this.
All right, I'm going to double up one of the questions and also ask the team if you could put some new questions up on the screen, because it looks like we're getting through them pretty quickly. If I'm applying myself, is there a step-by-step guide? And also, how can we find an application to file?
So we like the forms that are available from the state courts. The form for the expungement application is MC227. There's a link to the page in our FAQ. And I believe that the State Court Administrator's Office is rolling out a separate form for the marijuana expungements. And I don't have the number on that yet, but we'll post it as soon as we can. I also saw a question in the chat about CSC, or criminal sexual conduct convictions. So 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree CSCs are not eligible for expungement. 4th degrees are, so long as they were committed prior to 2015. In 2015, they said CSC convictions are no longer eligible in any form, but they grandfathered in those that occurred prior to 2015. So you can still apply to get a CSC 4th sealed if it happened prior to 2015.
John, if I could add to, if people are wanting to do an expungement themselves, I'd encourage them to look at michiganlegalhelp.org. There is a whole toolkit that will help you put together an application and walk you through the steps for that.
All right, how about if I live out of state, will I need to travel to Michigan for fingerprints?
That is a great question. I don't think so. So the state police requires fingerprints. Actually, their whole database is structured around electronic fingerprints, and the fingerprints that's required with the application is actually part of the FBI background check that happens in the background through the Attorney General's office. It shouldn't matter where the fingerprints are gotten, and I'm not aware that they need to be from Michigan. But Shannon or Stephani, please jump in if you know better than I, because you probably do.
Yeah, I think if fingerprinting anywhere is okay. We have even sent an application to a client, and she had it notarized out of state. She was there taking care of her grandma for a short time, and then she sent it back to us. You will need to be in state for your hearing, unless your hearing is by Zoom, in which case you might luck out and not have to travel. But I think the fingerprints can be obtained anywhere as long as you send them in.
Cool, thank you.
I want to move into the chat. Looks like we're hitting these questions up pretty good. So I have, if a person was a minor but convicted as an adult, which form is used?
You should use the adult forms if it's an adult conviction. You should use the adult forms. And I did see some questions about juvenile expungements, because there was reforms passed related to juvenile expungements last year. I am not an expert on those, and I'm gonna pass on answering those questions, but we will try and follow up with more information. The organization I would recommend contacting about those reforms is the Michigan Center for Youth Justice, which is a great organization that specializes in juvenile justice. And we may try and get a webinar going with them to help folks on the juvenile expungement front, because it sounds like there's need.
And changes to the juvenile law are going into effect in July, I believe mid-July. So there are some changes coming up, but they're not in effect yet.
I have two questions that I'm going to put out there and see who could answer them. They look like they're in the same bucket. Will there be any help for first-time violent offenders in the near future? And then the second question is, I have a client who was convicted of armed robbery over 20 years ago, felony. Is that eligible?
So I can answer those. So armed robbery, unfortunately, is a life max offense and is therefore not eligible for expungement in Michigan. I think there's plenty of meritorious cases like the one that was mentioned where, 20 years ago is a very long time, and it seems fair that that conviction might be no longer evidence of the person they are, but currently the law does not permit expungement of that offense. When it comes to violent convictions, we encourage everybody to utilize the new petition process that went into effect yesterday. Violent convictions are not going to be eligible for the automatic expungement unless there's further legislation to expand in that direction. And right now, we're not sure whether that's going to happen or not. So if you have any kind of assaultive conviction on your record, the petition process is where you want to focus.
Also, I think Shannon answered this already, but I'm applying myself as their step-by-step guide. But I believe you already said to go to your website. Okay.
If you can visit michiganlegalhelp.org, there is a toolkit available on there that is a step-by-step guide.
John, is there any other questions that you want to pull from the chat? I see them coming. Some of them, maybe ones that we've already answered.
Yeah, I'll just take a couple and then we can wrap. So the first one is, how long is the process? And this is going to vary from court to court, but in general, we expect 6 to 9 months. There's backlogs related to COVID. Courts have been operating at reduced capacity. In addition, most courts are scheduling hearings 3 months out because there's an FBI background check that needs to happen in response to the application. And usually it takes about 3 months for the Attorney General's office to turn that around. So if you apply this week, probably you're going to see a hearing happening October and getting the expungement then. But, we expect there to be a lot of expungement applications, and it would behoove everybody to get at the front of the line if you can. So please do reach out to Project Clean Slate and Legal Aid or us to get that process moving. The last question I saw was around unarmed robbery. I don't believe that is a life max offense. I'd need to double check, but that should be eligible if it's not a life max offense. It just wouldn't be eligible under the automatic because it is considered an assaultive crime. So with that, Sheena, why don't you read us out? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. And I just want to say thank you for allowing me to MC this event today. And I live in Florida, so being a part of a coalition that had to pass a bill and have it implemented, I just want to say that you're way ahead of the game with this call, with the work that you're all doing, John, and just super excited about the work that's coming ahead for everybody in Michigan. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you to close out. Do you want me to just go ahead and just thank everybody and close it out? What do you want to do?
To me, actually, Sheena.
Oh, go to
thanks
Josh.
a lot, Josh.
Oh, hey, Josh. Yeah.
Sheena, thanks so much for being our MC for the event today. Safe and Just Michigan, the Clean Slate Initiative, Legal Aid, Clean Slate Detroit, and the offices of Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, and Chief Justice, thank you for participating in today's event. We'll be hosting more webinars down the line, so please keep an eye out throughout the spring and summer. And there'll be more, hopefully, Clean Slate events once we are able to hopefully meet in person down the road. Thanks again for your participation in today's screening and panel, and please take part in the last poll before we go. And thanks to all the panelists and to Sheena Mead and to all of our people who've worked with us over the last couple of years to make this happen. And happy Clean Slate Day, as it is Clean Slate Day in Michigan. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thanks so much. Take care.